Welcome
93
back.
seats.
Yes, 93 seats.
Across 11 states are polling even as we speak. It's been 2 hours since the polling began. And the most important aspect of this third phase is that after this third phase, 283 seats would have polled out of 543 seats in all in 7 phases. So our big coverage began in fact at 7 a.m. These are the visuals coming in of Home Minister Amit Shah along with his wife and son going to cast their vote.
Well, absolutely. And NDTV is bringing you the biggest on-ground coverage, 360-degree view with the biggest team of reporters that have fanned out across the 11 states today. Like Maria said, I beg your pardon, with this, half the election is over. Phase 3 concludes today. It's a key battle as far as Gujarat is concerned. The entire state of Gujarat seeing polls. 5 seats in Assam, after which polling across the northeast would have concluded today as well, Maria. Remaining 14 out of 28 seats in Karnataka. So it's a very big phase of the election. And with polling concluding today, it's going to be half over. The battle for 2024 will be half over. But visuals coming in at the moment, Union Home Minister Amit Shah is a candidate in this phase. He's going to be casting his vote as well today from Ahmedabad. Then we have Radhika joining us live from Ground Zero. So Radhika, there was a massive show of strength this morning. An entire road cordoned off as the Prime Minister, accompanied by Home Minister Amit Shah, went to cast his vote, and now Amit Shah there casting his vote as well.
That's right. That's right. Prime Minister Modi cast his vote this morning. We saw the kind of crowd gathered outside that particular polling booth. Now, post witnessing that, now we are at the polling booth where Amit Shah is headed to cast his vote. In fact, he has gone inside in this particular constituency, which is Gandhinagar constituency. This is the polling booth in Narayanpura, where he will be casting his vote in just a bit. He is inside at the moment. Of course, he is the key candidate as far as Gandhinagar constituency is concerned. He had won by a huge margin from this particular constituency in 2019. In fact, he had contested for the first time from Gandhinagar in 2019 and won by over 5 lakh votes. This is obviously the biggest victory margin so far as this particular seat is concerned. Gandhinagar had been BJP's bastion. Of course, contesting against Amit Shah is Sonal Patel from the Congress party, who's the former State Congress Mahila Morcha president. There are many others also in the fray, but many candidates, many probable candidates, in fact, withdrawing from the fray as well. So yes, at this point, Amit Shah here to cast his vote. Earlier, we saw Prime Minister Modi. Of course, these, stalwarts of the BJP, sons of the soil, BJP obviously has dominated politics in Gujarat, be it state politics or central politics. This had been an epicenter of sorts as far as Indian politics is concerned. The state of Gujarat, the 25 seats going to polls, which also includes Gandhinagar, from where Amit Shah, Home Minister of the country, is the candidate. He is casting his vote as we speak. Of course, at this point, BJP is looking for a bigger margin. That's what all the, political observers had been saying, that it is not about the win, perhaps it's about the margin. But having said that, the Congress party is relying on its alliance with Aam Aadmi Party as well.
As we have been saying, we have here in the studio Amitabh Tiwari and Manisha Priyam. As we look at these visuals, here is the Home Minister who first contested from Gandhinagar in 2019, won with a margin of over 5 lakh votes, Amitabh, and now he is hoping to better that number. But he is, of course, the chief strategist of the party, the architect of the new BJP, as we say, the BJP which expanded and was not limited to just the Hindi heartland or the central India, but has become a force to reckon with in East India, and also is trying to expand its footprints in southern India.
Yeah, so Gujarat is the fort of BJP. It was only one of the 4 states where BJP won all the seats with more than 50% vote share.
Yes.
Whereas all India lead for the party is around 19-20% against Congress. Here the lead is 30%. So this time the target of the party is to win all the seats with more than 5 lakh margin. In 2019 it won 18 of the 26. with more than 2.5 lakh margin.
And
So
this
yes.
time the polling is happening in 25 seats because,
Because
in
one seat
Surat
they have
there has
already
been a
won.
walkover. Yes.
One seat they have already won. As far Amit Shah is concerned, of course, he was the architect of reviving BJP's fortunes in UP. Now, in 2014, he led the campaign where BJP won.
He was the General Secretary in charge of Uttar Pradesh.
73 out of 80 seats, and again repeated a similar performance in 2019. And we all know that the UP hold the keys to power for Delhi. So he has been the chief architect of the party, and this time the party hopes and has kept an ambitious target of victory
Yes.
margin of 10 lakh plus for the BJP. So now we have to see how this pans out.
But you know, while of course we see how it pans out, and Marian has spoken about this earlier as well, on how this is a prestige battle and it's about bettering and outdoing performance and breaking records for the BJP. Manisha, Priyam, do you want to just quickly come in and also talk about what's happening with the opposition in Gujarat? Because there is an alliance between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party. It was a very sort of, vociferous campaign by Arvind Kejriwal in the state elections. This time there's no Arvind Kejriwal, but his wife has campaigned in Gujarat.
So if you take a long-term view, what an innings for the Congress from a state where there's a Sabarmati ashram and where there's a legacy of the Congress party, for it to dwindle to becoming a partner of the Aam Aadmi Party
Yes.
that just comes up and takes its votes away. And I would say that this is the state where the duo of Narendra Modi and Amit Shah perfected the strategy of dismantling the Congress completely in one-on-one battles. And since the time that Narendra Modi took over the reins in early 2000s as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, there's never been a battle that he's lost, including winning the very important and last chief ministerial battle in 2012, when it was said Saurashtra, lack of water would all be issues. And I remember very much, I was in a newsroom when Madam Sonia Gandhi had landed the issue of gas cylinders like now and then had been raised, and it was said that the Congress party would be giving subsidized and free gas cylinders, but neither the lack of water in Saurashtra, nor the issue of divisions between Kadwa and Lehua Patels, nor that of cylinders, nor the strong personality of Mrs. Gandhi, nothing was enough, and a convincing victory was in fact won over under the chieftainship of Amit Shah, who is now the Home Minister, and the Chief Ministership of Narendra Modi, who went on to become the Prime Minister. So systematic dismantling of the Congress. Today the Congress playing second fiddle to a comeuppance, the Aam Aadmi Party.
Interesting visuals that came in early morning, when Home Minister Amit Shah was seen waiting for Prime Minister Narendra Modi while he was arriving for, to cast his vote at Nishan High School. So that messaging is also very clear of the duo, the role that has been played of this coming together of Modi Shah, as used to be Atal Advani in the past.
Yeah, so it's the new BJP
Yes.
under Modi Shah, replacing the duo of Atal Advani, and herein where you could say that the strategic roadmap for expansion of the BJP and enabling or making it a force which could win a simple majority on its own has been laid. As Manisha ji was saying, that the roadmap for the expansion of the party and how to systematically dismantle Congress, how to weaken the opposition, how to build economic model, because Gujarat was showcased as a model of development when Prime Minister Modi became the Prime Minister designate or the Prime Minister candidate for BJP in 2014. Gujarat was showcased as the model of development for BJP, and that's what helped BJP
Yes.
and Prime Minister Modi garner votes from the neutral voters, the middle class, who saw Gujarat as a state which was developed fairly, and so that he could replicate his model all over the country.
And we are expecting a soundbite from Amit Shah soon after. And interestingly, I think the messaging that's is loud and clear is that here are the two leaders, the topmost two leaders of the country, the most powerful two leaders, the Home Minister and the Prime Minister. They have gone out early in the morning to exercise their right. And the Prime Minister then heads to Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh for continuing with other phase of his rallies, because at 10:30 he is expected to address rallies in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. So, the BJP, while it's concerned about the overall voter percentage, there is that messaging also that's coming, that go out, exercise your right early morning. Manisha.
No, if you see, you know, at 8 o'clock we saw the Prime Minister was there, meeting people, giving autographs, shaking hands, and 8 o'clock vote cast and interaction with people means that the Prime Minister's day started at 6:30 in the morning. So you have to understand that here is relentless energy and effort being put in. That has to be matched up, the synchrony completely in tune, nothing out of step, and then going on to do the next public rally. And I think this is the energy that I saw in 2014 and that yielded to make him the Prime Minister, continues whatever the challenges, continues for the Prime Minister even now.
Well, absolutely, and I think 7:30 actually was when we got the first visual of Amit Shah arriving, and you know, he was of course waiting there to welcome the Prime Minister. But having said that, I think it's also important to talk about what's happened in Surat. It's been one of the headline stories as far as the Gujarat election is concerned, isn't it? Maria and I have been talking about how it's 25 out of 26 seats in Gujarat, and the walkover that was sort of given to the BJP in Surat. Many uncomfortable questions were raised. Many actually say that, you know, one of the reasons why we've seen this dip in voter turnout, you can attribute it to the weather, you can also attribute it to the fact that many believe it's a foregone conclusion what's going to happen in the election. How do you look at it?
No, there have been many issues. I don't think, you know, after the event happens, then people may give these explanations like foregone. But I squarely put the responsibility on two parts. One, the party organizations that should have taken out their voter base, definitely something lacking there. And second, the Election Commission, both have stepped up their ante. The Election Commission reaching out, the sweep mobilization happening. And on the other side, you know, Bihar had the lowest in the first phase, and I've been consistently speaking to party organizations on the ground. And now they have, you know, geared up the momentum. And I do think that in a long drawn out battle, maybe the intensity when the first phase only 3 or 4 seats are going, I think that's a more plausible explanation, that people did not pull all stops out thinking, okay, now this is not the big election of, you know, so many numbers of seats going. And I think that's been corrected, and I think that we are likely going to see some increase in the voter turnouts with these two correctives.
So some prayers being performed there, Maria, those live pictures that we're getting in at the moment, Home Minister Amit Shah and his wife performing prayers. Presumably this would have been before he cast his vote. We know he's cast his vote. It's even likely that he'll actually be speaking with reporters after, but those are pictures that we're getting at the moment of the Home Minister and his wife, of course, offering prayers as his fate will be sealed today. And as we've been saying, it's a prestige battle. He's going to look to only break records and better records, Maria, as far as this election is concerned.
And as we said, Amitabh and I, we were discussing that the architect of the new BJP and Home Minister Amit Shah, it was the one who said that the BJP can set its targets in eastern India. I remember after the party won the state of Uttar Pradesh in 2017, the first national executive of the BJP was held in Bhubaneswar. So the big messaging that came in 2017 was that achieving a target higher than what they had achieved in 2014 is possible if Odisha and Bengal, these are the two possible catchment areas, look at BJP favorably.
Yeah, essentially, if you see, BJP won Assam in 2016 perhaps, when it had not even 5 seats in 2011 Vidhan Sabha elections. In West Bengal and Odisha, it gained 23 seats in 2019, 23, and that compensated for the loss in the northern part of India. So BJP had a strategic, you can say, vision to expand the party in the east and northeast of India. In northeast, most of the states now have BJP or BJP supported governments in place, and Prime Minister Modi perhaps saw this, that in 2019 election, because the party had maxed out in the northern part of India, it could perhaps witness some losses, and the highest number of rallies after UP of the Prime Minister were in West Bengal and Odisha, and that reaped dividends for the party in that election.
Yes, and Odisha is one of those states, along with 4 others, which are seeing simultaneous polls, which essentially means Assembly and Lok Sabha elections happening simultaneously. When they won 8 seats last time around, it did come as a surprise to most, because but the narrative was that in the state it could be Naveen Patnaik or the BJD, At the center, it was the BJP, and they are hoping that this time, with senior ministers, senior leaders on ground, with Dharmendra Pradhan contesting and others, that number would get better. But that confidence, as we have been saying, that it's reimagining a political party, which was done by this man.
And I think pulling out the stops, because even yesterday
Yes.
the Prime Minister was addressing a rally in Gunjan in Odisha, and he's, to many people's surprise, actually hit out at Naveen Patnaik over widespread corruption charge when they were almost going to be in an alliance which would have been public.
That is why you see the campaign by Naveen Patnaik himself, wherein he is asking people, Vidhan Sabha mein bhi concho, Lok Sabha mein bhi conch. Because he knows this, that there could be a split verdict. If there is a split verdict, then BJP can get more seats than BJD in Odisha. So that's the risk which BJD also foresees.
I'll bring in Radhika now, who is in Ahmedabad, very close to where Home Minister Amit Shah has just cast his vote along with his family. Radhika, when is the Home Minister expected to speak to the media?
Well, in just a bit, we are expecting that. I will just show you the scenes here where Amit Shah just cast his vote. In fact, the temple is right next to the Narayanpura constituency, or the polling booth where he cast his vote. This is the Mahadev temple where he, in fact, took the blessings along with his family members. There is a possibility he may speak to the media in just a bit. Of course, Prime Minister Modi, in fact, had spoken to media at about 8 a.m. It was a grand show of strength that we saw this morning at about 7:30 when Prime Minister Modi cast his vote, somewhere which is close to this particular place, which is Ranip. I mean, all of this comes under Gandhinagar constituency.
Radhika, afraid we're going to have to interrupt you, because I think that soundbite that you were actually pointing to is happening somewhere behind you. So let's try and dip in and listen in to what the Union Home Minister Amit Shah is going to say there in Narayanpura after casting his vote. I'm assuming, Maria, there must be like so many different media channels out there all waiting for a reaction. So a Janta bite, as we call it, is what the Home Minister is doing. He's going to be... The Prime Minister also spoke this morning. It was a longish interaction that he had with the press, 8-9 minutes almost that he spoke. All right, I believe the Home Minister is speaking now. Let's listen.
Okay. तीसरे चरण का दिन है। मैं देश भर के सभी मतदाताओं को और गुजरात के मतदाताओं को भी मन से विनती करना चाहता हूं कि बढ़ चढ़कर लोकतंत्र के इस महोत्सव में हिस्सा ले। स्थिर सरकार, सुरक्षित देश, समृद्ध देश, गरीब कल्याण और भारत गौरव को समर्पित एक सरकार चुनिए। एक ऐसी सरकार चुनिए जो भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ हो, गरीबी का उन्मूलन करना चाहती हो, आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाना चाहती हो, विकसित भारत बनाना चाहती हो और पूरे विश्व में हर क्षेत्र में भारत को नंबर 1 ले जाना चाहती हो। आज इतनी चिलचिलाती धूप के बावजूद भी अब तक बहुत उत्साहजनक वोटिंग के ट्रेंड मिल रहे हैं। जहां तक गुजरात का सवाल है, करीब करीब 20% वोटिंग 2.5 घंटे में ही गुजरात के मतदाताओं ने समाप्त किया है। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है देश भर में आज जहां जहां मतदान है वो सभी मतदाता और गुजरात के मतदाता एक ऐसी सरकार चुनेंगे जो स्थायित्व भी देगी, सुरक्षा भी देगी, समृद्धि भी देगी, गरीबी से मुक्त भारत बनाएगी। मैं आज के लोकतंत्र के इस पर्व के अवसर पर सभी देशवासियों को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूं और फिर से एक बार पुरजोश वोटिंग कर लोकतंत्र के इस पर्व में हिस्सा लेने की अपील करता हूं। આજે દેશમાં ત્રીજા ચરણનું મતદાન છે. ગુજરાતની વધેલી 25 से 25 સીટો પર આજે મતદાન થવાનું છે. હું ગુજરાતની જનતાને અને વિશેષ કરી ફર્સ્ટ ટાઈમ વોટરને અપીલ કરવા માંગુ છું કેવી સરકાર માટે આપણે સૌ વોટિંગ કરીએ જે દેશને સ્થિરતા આપે, સુરક્ષા આપે, સમૃદ્ધ બનાવે, ગરીબીનું સંપૂર્ણ ઉન્મૂલન કરે અને વિકસિત અને આત્મનિર્ભર ભારતની રચના કરે. એક એવી સરકાર આપણે ચૂંટીએ જે સમગ્ર વિશ્વમાં દરેક ક્ષેત્રમાં ભારત નંબર 1 બને એવી સરકાર અને એવા પક્ષ માટે આપ સૌ વોટિંગ કરો એવી મારી આપ સૌને અપીલ છે. લોકશાહીના આ મહોત્સવમાં સૌ ગુજરાતીઓ દર વખતની જેમ રંગે ચંગે ઉત્સાહથી ઉમંગથી ભારી સંખ્યામાં વોટિંગ કરે અને અંતે આપનું વોટિંગ જ ભારતના વિજયનું કારણ બનશે એનો મને વિશ્વાસ છે. વંદે માતરમ. ખૂબ ખૂબ શુભેચ્છાઓ.
That was Home Minister Amit Shah addressing the media after casting his vote. Today, all the seats in Gujarat poll in single phase, and after this phase, that is the third phase, the elections in 283 seats of 543, which means essentially that we would have crossed the halfway mark. Let me bring in the reporters now. Radhika continues to be with us. We also have Aishwarya joining us from Gwalior. Ratnadeep is joining us as well. I'm going to come to you again, Radhika. The Home Minister there essentially saying that the initial reports that are coming in of various constituencies in Gujarat is certainly promising that people have started to queue up to cast their vote.
Yes, absolutely. It has been an action-packed morning as far as Gujarat is concerned. We're just showing you the visuals of Amit Shah just leaving Naranpura polling booth where he cast his vote along with family members. He just addressed the media, and as you pointed out, yes, he said that the voting numbers are looking promising and people are coming out in large numbers, at the same time appealing more people to come out in large numbers, something that Prime Minister Modi also said this morning. We saw Prime Minister Modi, in fact, walking towards the polling booth, which is close to here, where he cast his vote. Of course, as far as Gandhinagar is concerned, the candidate is, of course, Amit Shah. He is contesting against Sonal Patel of the Congress party. Amit Shah had won by huge margin in 2014, something he is expecting to repeat this time. Prime Minister Modi also, while addressing the media, appealing to people to come out and vote in large numbers. Of course, it was a show of strength of sorts when Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah walked in Gandhinagar constituency just this morning. Of course, these are two BJP stalwarts who are sons of the soil, very comfortably placed, as one would say, especially the political observers. But having said that, as far as Congress party is concerned, they are relying on their alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party. They feel there won't be any vote sharing happening as a result of the alliance. Two of the seats being contested by 24 by the Congress party. So at this point, remains to be seen how things are stacked up for the opposition. But BJP at this point not talking about winning or losing. They are talking about huge margins. They are talking about each seat that perhaps they believe would be won by 5 lakh. And in this constituency, especially Amit Shah and many within the BJP talking about a margin of 10 lakh by which Amit Shah could possibly win. But all that is a matter of speculation. We know on June 4th what will happen. But yes, two BJP stalwarts, Prime Minister of the country and Home Minister of the country, voting this morning in Gujarat.
Well, we're going to get you a 360-degree view of this phase, as we promised. Our team of reporters joining us, Aishwarya, Ratnadeep, Pratibha, all with us as well. Radhika, we're going to come back to you in a bit, but Aishwarya, if I can quickly come to you, It's 9 seats across the state of Madhya Pradesh today. You're, of course, reporting from Gwalior. Again, Gwalior-Chambal belt, very crucial. One of those areas in Madhya Pradesh where there's actually believed to be some kind of a contest between the Congress and the BJP. But key faces today, Maria, there are big faces. Digvijay Singh, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, all in the fray from Madhya Pradesh. Aishwarya?
Before Aishwarya, you start speaking, those are the visuals on your television screens. On the right side is Harsh Sanghvi, who's Minister of State for Home Affairs. Now it is Mr. Mandavia,
Yes.
Union Health Minister, who's contesting from Porbandar. These are the visuals which came in earlier. He is, of course, a candidate in Gujarat. Polling in, remember 25 seats are polling today. Go ahead, Aishwarya.
Well, certainly, if we talk about Madhya Pradesh, the 9 constituencies are going to the poll. Very tough contest has been seen in the Gwalior-Chambal region. Remember, in the last assembly elections, it was 25 assembly constituencies in which 13 were backed by the Bharatiya Janata Party, 12 went in favor of the Congress, and that's why we are saying this is a tough contest. But interestingly, it is Jyotiraditya Scindia from Guna who is contesting for the first time from the Bharatiya Janata Party. And for the benefit of viewers and to update all of us is that Jyotiraditya Scindia usually votes early in the morning at around 9 a.m. coming from his huge palace, Jaivilas Palace, where he lives in Gwalior. But certainly today, it's a different scene. Jyotiraditya Scindia had went to Shivpuri Guna constituency early in the morning to oversee what's the poll preparedness is all about, and later he will be coming to Gwalior to cast his vote at around 5:30 p.m. But as we were mentioning about the Gwalior-Chambal region, it consists of Gwalior, Bhind, Morena, and also a part of Guna constituency as well. And interestingly, it is from Prime Minister Narendra Modi to stalwart leaders of the Congress party like Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, all came up here and did several rallies, try to woo the voters of this belt, because caste equation is something that matters a lot in this part of the region of northern Madhya Pradesh. And certainly we also had a word with Narendra Singh Tomar, Madhya Pradesh Speaker, who was earlier the Agriculture Minister of the country. He clearly stated that this time people are voting for development in this region because that was left aside, and people will come out in large numbers. Here in the polling booth as well in Gwalior, where I am reporting from, queues can be seen. People have come out in large numbers since morning and they are voting. We'll directly go across to the people out here who had come out in numbers and what their views are as far as what they think, what their agenda is all about. Certainly आप लोग यहाँ पर वोट करने के लिए आए हैं. सुबह क्या मुद्दे हैं आप लोगों के दिमाग में? नेशनल मुद्दों के साथ आप लोग यहाँ पर वोट करने आए हैं, लोकल आपके कुछ मुद्दे हैं?
अब ये तो नेशनल लेवल का मामला है, तो उसमें तो हम लोग तो अपनी ड्यूटी निभाने आए हैं. बाकी स्टेट अपना लोकल का होता तो हम लोगों को कुछ अपने फायदे देखे जाते हैं. यहाँ तो हमारी ड्यूटी है, सो हम वो पूरी कर रहे हैं.
तो लोकल जो मुद्दे हैं उनको आप थोड़े से इग्नोर कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात होती है हमेशा ग्वालियर में.
यस,
वो भी देख रहे हैं. आप क्या सोच कर आए हैं यहाँ पर वोट करने के लिए?
हम तो अपनी ड्यूटी निभाने आए हैं.
ड्यूटी निभाने आए हैं. आप क्या सोच के आए हैं? ग्वालियर के कुछ लोकल मुद्दे भी हैं यहाँ पर आपके दिमाग में?
नहीं, इस समय नहीं है.
इस समय नहीं है.
लोकसभा के चुनाव में कोई मुद्दा नहीं है. ग्वालियर का लोकल मुद्दा नहीं है, देश का मुद्दा है. जैसा कि जो भी देश के मुद्दे अलग अलग कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस में है, वो भी यहाँ पर सेम है. चाहे वो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट का मुद्दा हो या जो भी चीज़ें हों, चाहे महंगाई का मुद्दा हो, वो चीज़ें एक कॉमन है. वो हर जगह ऑल ओवर इंडिया में मिलेंगी आपको पास.
Well, interestingly, in Gwalior, the fight is between the Bharatiya Janata Party's Bharat Singh Kushwaha, who lost in the assembly elections, versus the Congress's Praveen Pathak, who also lost in the assembly elections. And both the leaders have been given ticket for the Lok Sabha seat in Gwalior. Interestingly, it will be we will be witnessing this contest as well, because
Yes.
Praveen Pathak, being a young candidate from the Congress party,
phase, Rishika, will also decide the fate of Shivraj Singh Chauhan, the longest serving Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, someone who's contesting from Vidisha constituency. We can see Pratibha, 14 seats of Karnataka go to polls. In fact, they are polling even as we speak. They are largely in northern and central Karnataka. What is the enthusiasm like? What are you picking up?
In fact, it's not like the urban situation that you see in terms of voter turnout. It is North Karnataka belt, and you're talking of the Lingayats, which is the dominant community there residing in North Karnataka. 14 constituencies, interesting, eventful day in Karnataka, because it is also a day where we are going to be looking at the bail petition that has already been filed at the Sessions Court in Bengaluru by H.D. Revanna. Now, that has definitely become one of the main topics as far as this election season is concerned in Karnataka. During the last phase of the Lok Sabha election in Karnataka, it was mainly the guarantees battle that we saw between the Congress as well as the BJP. But this time around, it is going to be definitely interesting to see how this case would definitely affect the poll prospects. The BJP there are waiting to see if they could repeat history like what they did in 2019. The Congress this time waiting to see if they could repeat what they did in the assembly election. So that is the major face-off that you see between the BJP and the Congress as far as the North Karnataka belt is concerned. 14 constituencies. Interesting seats that we can talk about is definitely Hubli Dharwad, where one of the stalwart leaders of the BJP, Prahlad Joshi, would be contesting. The Lingayats here, they're opting to walk out of the electoral race, but then holds a lot of influence as far as the vote bank is concerned. Another interesting seat is Shimoga, again in central Karnataka that we are talking of, and that is the only constituency where we see a triangular contest, because it also has an independent candidate, K.S. Ishwarappa, now expelled from the BJP, contesting against BJP veteran family, the B.S. Yediyurappa family that we are talking of. B.S. Yediyurappa, his son B.Y. Raghavendra would be contesting from there against the Congress's Geeta Shivraj Kumar. So a lot of interesting contests, interesting faces there as far as this election goes.
In fact, you're reporting at the moment from the CBI headquarters, and Maria, this is going to be very interesting to see how this entire Prajwal Revanna controversy impacts the BJP as far as this phase is concerned. Women have been a very strong poll pitch. One of the biggest perhaps of the BJP. So, this controversy is not going to augur well, even though it's an ally. And they can raise their hand saying we have no control over what our ally does, but it's perhaps not going to go down well.
Yes, that's right. But in this particular phase, which is like 14 seats, which are largely in the central Karnataka and northern Karnataka, it is the Lingayat factor which is at play. But the larger question is also whether Jagdish Shettar's return and also B.S. Yediyurappa being given full charge in ticket distribution, how will it really impact? But let me bring in now Ratndeep, who's joining us. I think the rains have stopped, Ratndeep. It has stopped raining in Assam, where you are. Has the overall voter turnout in terms of those who are standing in the queue increased? Are you seeing more people now turning up to cast their vote?
The umbrella's gone.
Yes.
So we know it stopped raining.
That's right. The umbrellas have gone, but the rains have stopped, and you can see here there are huge turnout here among people have turned out in large number. We are coming to you from Amin Gaon, which is part of the Jalukbari constituency, which is the constituency of which is the assembly constituency of Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma. Usually he comes early to cast his vote, but what we are hearing that he'll come in the second half. But one interesting thing I want to show in this constituency is that on my right, if you can see this polling booth, there's a huge queue right from the morning. This polling booth is part of the Barpeta constituency, which is in Lower Assam. And on my left, the other polling booth, I will ask camera person Sanjay Chakrabarti to pan, and that polling booth is part of Guwahati constituency. So this is the impact of the last year's delimitation that the assembly segments in Assam saw, which led to redrawing of the boundaries of the Lok Sabha constituencies, and many watchers say this is going to impact the results of the elections, because in this phase, if you look at the 4 seats which have gone to polls today, apart from Guwahati constituency, where there is a battle between 2 women, 2 debutants, one from Congress, one from BJP. In other seats, it's the BJP allies who are contesting, and it is a big test of the BJP allies. The Barpeta constituency at this moment is with the Congress, but this time, because of delimitation, the dynamics of Hindu and the Muslim votes have changed in Barpeta, and therefore the number of Hindu votes have increased, and therefore BJP and allies have high hopes there. But talking about other constituencies, particularly Dhubri in Lower Assam, known as the Muslim heartland, where Maulana Badruddin Ajmal is contesting, he's having a tough fight with Congress and AGP, given the fact that there is anti-incumbency also in that seat. He has been an MP from 2009, but we have a lot of voters here waiting for hours. भाई साहब, क्या नाम है आपका?
संतनु रेखा।
कितने टाइम से खड़े हैं?
1-1.5 घंटा हो गया।
1-1.5 घंटा हो गया। बारिश आई, छतरी भी लेके आए हैं। अगर आज तूफान होने की बात थी, हेल स्टॉर्म होने की बात थी, अगर और भी ज्यादा बारिश आएगी, लोग रहेंगे, लोग वोट देके जाएंगे?
हाँ जी, रहेंगे।
हमने फर्स्ट फेज में भी देखा, बहुत लोग उत्साह से वोट दिया, सेकंड फेज में भी लोग उत्साह से आए। असम में इस बार जो मैंने देखा है कि लोग बहुत उत्साहित है चुनाव के लिए। क्यों ऐसा है, इतना उत्साह, इतना उमंग?
ये तो अपना ये है ना, इसीलिए ड्यूटी है, मतलब ऐसा उत्साहित हो गए।
So there you can see, the first phase also we saw voters turning up early morning. The weather was favorable in the first phase. Second phase, Assam actually crossed over 80% voting. And even this phase,
Yes.
the reports that we are getting in from different parts of the state is that despite overnight rains, that despite spell of showers in the morning, there have been turnout like this in most part of the state, most part of the 4 constituencies which have gone to polls today.
Yes.
And therefore, remember, if BJP has to increase its number of seats from Assam, last time out of 14 they had won 9.
Yes.
All 9 were BJP MPs. None of the allies could win. But this time, in this phase, its key ally, Assam Gana Parishad, which
Yes.
could not win in the Lok Sabha since 2000.
Right.
Since 2009, about
Okay.
2 decades.
In fact, that right there, Maria, was so heartening. That's why we call it the Festival of Democracy. It's rained overnight. There were people with umbrellas out there in large numbers. The gentleman Ratnadeep just spoke to has been standing in queue for 1.5 hours. It's slushy, it's muddy, but people are out there to cast their vote because today it is about them. But let's crisscross from Assam and go across to Uttar Pradesh. Of course, numerically all significant, politically all significant. There's a lot at stake for the Yadav family there. Tanishq, you are reporting from Mainpuri. What's the mood like?
Well, like in Northeast, I don't see a lot of voter turnout here, a huge voter turnout here in Saifai. But Akhilesh Yadav and Dimple Yadav are to arrive here at any moment. You can see, of course, the security has been beefed up for Akhilesh Yadav and Dimple Yadav. They'll be arriving here at any moment now. Now I'm right now at Saifai, the native village of the Yadav family, of course. And from here, from Mainpuri, Dimple Yadav is fighting the elections against Javeer Singh. Javeer Singh, a minister in the Yogi Adityanath government. But you can see all around you, the security has been beefed up. Akhilesh Yadav and Dimple Yadav. Dimple Yadav is the candidate. They will be arriving here at any moment. Akhilesh Yadav is expected to hold a press conference after he casts his vote today. So yes, everybody is here waiting for Akhilesh Yadav. But there is, of course, a low voter turnout as we see. I saw a lot of women voters definitely coming out in numbers here at Saifai, the native village. But yes, a very important seat, Mainpuri, considered the stronghold of Samajwadi Party, where in 2019 elections, Kannauj, which was another stronghold of the Samajwadi Party, was breached by the BJP when Subrat Pathak won by a narrow margin of 12,000 votes. The BJP again eyeing, all 80 seats this time, a near impossible target of all 80 seats this time. So they have fielded Javeer Singh, an MLA from Mainpuri Sadar constituency, and also a minister under the Yogi government. I would again like to just give you a view of the visuals, and you can of course say, as I said, women are coming out to I have seen a lot of women coming out to vote. You can of course see the security has been beefed up, and we can expect Akhilesh Yadav and Dimple Yadav coming here at any moment to cast their vote.
All right. Thanks, Tanish, for joining us with that update. We also have the voter turnout, Maria, 10.5% till 9 a.m. Amitabh Tiwari, you were just referring to this. It does appear that it's lowest so far in Maharashtra, just crossing 6.5% at 6.6%, and the highest so far till 9 a.m. in West Bengal at around almost 15%. How do you look at these numbers?
Yeah, so early trends, West Bengal always has had higher voter turnout because of the competitive level of politics. In Maharashtra, it may be that the numbers get updated later, but if this numbers hold true, then it could be because of the confusion among the traditional supporters of NCP and Shiv Sena as to whom to vote for, as of now.
Okay. So
even Gujarat is lower than
Yes.
the average of 10.5%. Gujarat is at 9.85 or something. Correct?
9.9 roundabout.
Yeah,
yes.
9.9. Assam, Bihar, all of them are lower than 10.5.
But these are early
Yes.
morning,
Yeah,
so
early
perhaps
morning trend.
yes.
Let's see.
But early morning, the reason why the elections and the polling were preponed was only because of heat. So people would come out early morning. That was the hope. If
Yes.
if it's
But
not
Maria,
that
look at what we've been learning from our reporters since the morning. The average temperature is up.
Yes.
It is about at least in certain areas it's 2 to 4 degrees above what's normal at this point, expected only to rise, crossing 40 degrees already in certain areas. And we're seeing a majority of Hindi heartland they're going to vote. In fact, we had visuals of Supriya Sule voting. All right. This is where she is, I'm told, and Supriya Sule, of course, will be casting a vote. We saw that visual earlier of Sharad Pawar and Supriya Sule standing by. And Maria, it's interesting because you've been to Baramati, so you have a good pulse of what's been happening there, and what you've been saying has been very interesting.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the battle for Baramati, as we say, is between Tai, as Supriya is fondly, talked about in that way, and versus, Dada, because Ajit Pawar has managed that constituency. But the larger sense is that the patron of this entire politics in Baramati has been Sharad Pawar himself. So Baramati has been synonymous with the Pawar family, yes, and it's been associated with the Pawars for 5 decades. So that long association is perhaps on test today. We can see Sharad Pawar and Supriya together, earlier pictures that are coming in. They are standing in the queue to cast their vote. She's seeking election for the 3rd term. She's hoping that her father's goodwill will ensure victory. But the larger sense that you also get here is that in multiple constituencies and multiple assembly segments, Manisha, the absence of water and while there are pockets of good growth in terms of infrastructure, but there are several constituencies where there is massive water shortage.
Water shortage, drought, farmer suicides. The agricultural crisis has been driving the politics of Maharashtra, and remember many other states too, including
Yes.
Gujarat, that we don't talk about because we have larger victories. Saurashtra has had a water crisis, and I believe very much that there has been a greening of the electoral issues, and not all of it is a very happy situation. Disasters and floods, for example, have devastated lives. Many governments I see go into election and then go into flood management, Bihar being a typical case there. So yes, and I believe very much that what India needs is a very strong green and environmental sustainability agenda, and that's going to work for agriculture as well. But I also believe that this election is not going to be played around water shortage, etc.
Sadly.
Yes, it's going to be all about the fact that there are these 5 or 6 parties. Remember, the BJP also has its headquarters in Nagpur, in the Sangh. It's a grounded party there. You have the Shiv Sena, which is divided into 2, but there's also an erstwhile lost cousin. You have the NCP now divided. You have the Congress, but many who've left floors and swept from this side to that.
Manisha,
so really,
on
it's a
ground,
crisis
there
of
was a great
political
degree
identity.
Of nostalgia also, and perhaps confusion that will Pawars finally unite, but the voters are divided. There is that confusion, and there's no certainty around it. So Supriya Sule there, she is facing that battle between, of course, she is the defender here. The person challenging her, the challenger is Sunetra Pawar, wife of Maharashtra's Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar, and 48 constituencies in all in Maharashtra, of which 50% roughly would have completed their voting by today, and remaining 24 will be largely about Mumbai, where there are 7 seats, and that Pune region. Yes, please go ahead.
So I'd like to add here that the lovely ladies of the Pawar family have had their due. Sunetra went over to the other Thai who we don't talk about, which is Pratibha Thai.
And also Sunanda. I
So
saw
one
her
second.
campaigning
Pratibha
for.
Thai is the wife of Sharad Pawar and the family matriarch. She's maintained her clear dividing line with politics, and she's been the home leader of sorts. And Sunetra, as we would have it, told her that, you know, I was quite unwilling, but this has been thrust on me. The relationships between Supriya and Sunetra remain very lively, and so many believe that as long as the Thais are controlling the inner citadel, whether this one wins or that
is
one, it's
fascinating.
ultimately
Women
a Pawar
power.
victory. Yes, so these are the lovely ladies of the Pawar family, all out in their power, and
glory.
yes, absolutely. And I would believe that the general feeling is that this side or that, it's the Pawar ultimately who wins
But
the
it's
Battle of
but it
Baramati.
makes it all the more challenging to predict an election then like this. Like what is going to happen in Baramati? How easy or
So
difficult
how
is
do
it
you,
going to be
what
for
do
the
you do
voters
by
to-
predicting an election when soon after predicting an election,
They might just unite.
they
might.
you know, the entire scenario is completely
Completely,
different.
it's fluid,
Who goes
yes.
which way, one doesn't know.
Yes.
So what's the point
Well, where
predicting
does
this
that
for
where
Maharashtra?
does that leave the voter? I think that's a
Yeah.
thought. That's a thought that we leave you with. We're going to slip into a very short break.